As part of data analysis using Python, so today we will take a topic 7, that is we will explain regarding Python functions. So like any other programming languages, so Python is also having functions, and in many other programming language we call it as a function, we may call it as a procedure or methods. But the whole intention of using function is to bring in a programming structure, and it also enables object-oriented behavior. It also helps whenever we are talking about object-oriented programming language, and it makes the code reusability much better. So that's where any programming languages have the functions, or definitions or procedures. So let's see what we have in Python to learn regarding Python functions. Yeah, so if I'm seeing here, so any Python function will start with def. Def is a keyword here, and so that will actually tells this is a declaration of any function. So we are declaring a function and followed by function name. So this function name will be must be enclosed with the opening and closing braces. So inside this we can have arguments or we cannot have arguments. So that is optional, but we need to open the brace and close the brace, which is mandatory. And if you are familiar with Java or C or any programming language, so a function will start with a braces, curly brace, and end with the curly braces. But here in case of Python, the function begins with a semicolons. The definition of the function begins with semicolon, and then here in Python, it begins with a colon. And so inside this colon, after this colon, so there will be a whenever you press a enter, so there is already defaultly it is taking a space, because we are using Jupyter or any use any advanced editors like Visual Studio or any other editor for that matter, like Eclipse or any program for any programming language. The indentation it will be directly given, or it will be taken care by editors. So if you are not using editors, which is a rare case, so that we need to make sure that there is a proper space here. So this space may be like 2 space, 3 space, or 4 space, but need to have a proper standard indentation so that it will be a proper standard when we are writing a code. So now with this actually we can see. So let's try with the simple thing. So we are defining a program. After defining a function, so we are just calling the function. So when how we call the function, we cannot call the function just like this, because that won't call the function basically. So we have to call the function just like opening and closing braces. So once we print it, so we will get the it will go inside this function and it will do whatever the operation is inside the function. So what if I give this at the starting of this? So next what we will do, like I will take this function at the top. So I'll just define function 1. Here also I'm defining function 1. So I'll try to call this. So here I'm getting an error. That means, so I'm calling the function before even defining it. So this Python will execute in a sequential manner, right? So it first execute this command and then after that it execute this command. So before calling the function, we need to make sure that it is properly defined. That means we have to declare the function here and then after that come out of that function and then call it. So now what we will try is we will just try to put this function call in a print statement and see what happens. So there are two prints happening here. One is the print which is inside the function, and another is the print which is this one. What happens? This function is called, and it will go inside the function, and it is getting printed. And after that, it will return to the main function or the main control. And then, so this function has returned nothing to this main function, right? So that's why it is none. Suppose if I'm returning something here, like say return of 10, so then it is returning 10, and this main function, main execution line will execute 10. It's simple as that. So next, let's see one more option. Like I'll just try to print the function name, but I'm not calling this function. I'm just using the function name here. It's not a function call. Basically, I'm just trying the function here. So when I print the function, that means I'm trying to know what exactly this function is, and it says the function is an object. So with this, we understand in Python, every function or every procedure or every method that we can call is the object itself, and this is the reference for that object, like a memory reference for that object. So now let's learn something about the arguments. So how we can define the arguments for a function, Python function. Suppose I'll call it as like demo q. So here I'll take a value x. So then I'll try to print, try to return, basically return what? X star x, which is a cube of a x value. And then here I'll be calling this function. So then, yeah, so I'll need to call with a. So as you can see here, it is throwing me the error because it is expecting a one argument here, because this function is taking one argument, but I'm not passing any argument here. So that's the reason it is throwing error. So I have to define a argument here. And as you can see, if I just pass a random argument, it won't take. So if I pass a string, can we try passing a string? It won't take, because we are actually multiplying using a multiplier here. So we'll try to pass integer value. So then it actually prints. So that means a cube of 10 is 1000. Yeah, basically, like we can have like this, like we can also define a default variable. So suppose like I don't want to pass anything here, and then I want to execute. So here when you're providing a default value, so it won't mandates you to pass a parameter here, but still if you want, you can pass a parameter which will actually override the existing value that you have passed. So basically you can just, this is a default, how you define the default value. So if you want to keep a default value, if nothing is passed, you want to consider this. So it's a good way, of any programming, like any programming language, it's a more convenient to default to pass a default value. In most of the cases, we will use in real time. This also enables you to avoid the what you say the errors that we are getting. So in Python, we get to use a lot of such options to avoid basically the errors, runtime errors that we get. Because if you're just using X, so and if you're not passing anything by accidentally, so your program completely breaks, right? So if you're just providing a default value, so then in that case, your program won't break actually. So this is like in Python, there are a lot of such options. As we go, we will learn such options too. The main intention here is to write a code or create a program or create a application that is more robust, and so all the error scenarios are mostly handled, so that you'll not face any runtime errors. So next, let us see how the order of arguments that we are passing will actually matter. Suppose like I'm taking this function demo power, which actually gives the power of a n value raised to the power of this value. So in this case, I'm just printing this value. So I'm using a inbuilt Python function which is power. So we can use such mathematical functions. And here what I do is like I'm just giving n comma power. That means it is doing a 2 raised to the power of 2. So here I'm just calling this function. So what happens is it is taking a default values. That means 2 raised to 2 is becoming 4. So suppose if I want to make a 2 raised to 5, right? So in this case, I need to explicitly pass these values. So in this case, I'm getting this proper value. So suppose, is there the order necessary? Like, yeah, definitely the order is necessary unless you are specifying it. Suppose if you are specifying like this, so here it won't matter. But if I want to specify, like if I want to reverse the order, yes, definitely we can reverse the order, but we need to tell what argument that we are using. Here I'm doing a 5 raised to 2. I'm sorry, like the number is 2 and power is 5. Suppose if I want to do a reverse, like power is 2, but I want to keep the number as 5. This is 5 raised to 2. So here it is 5 raised to 2 is 25. So that means we can still rearrange the order or reverse the order, or we can change the order, but we need to specify what argument it is. So if you won't specify the arguments, it will take the default order of the power definition of the function itself. And suppose like if I'm just giving like this, it'll throw an error. So what I'm doing is, for one I'm defining the order, for other I'm not defining the order. I mean the exact variable name. So let me try this way. If this works, I'm just giving n equal to 5 and this 2, because for one you are specifying a one argument, you are specifying what argument name is, for other you are not specifying. So that means you have to specify for, if you are specifying for one, you have to specify for all actually. So just like this. Or usually, like what we will be doing is in real time, we will be calling like this. So it is just like we will maintain an order just for programming standards, and we will not change the order, which is not good programming practice. So next we will take one more option. So this we call it as a like function which takes a multiple arguments basically. That means here we are, if you see observe, it is only one parameter that you are defining, but we are marking it as a star. That means it can take a number of parameters. What that actually means is in the function, when I'm calling the function, I'm actually calling 10 comma 20 comma, like if I give 30, so actually it is taking all the parameter and is displaying as a tuple. So like I can use it like suppose if I want to change it a little bit, what I can do is, so I can basically have a for loop which actually traverse through this tuple. So this is a tuple, and with that I'll just have a x equal to x plus, sum equals to x plus sum, and then print sum. So whenever I'm executing this, it is throwing an error because we are not defined the sum as a variable, local variable. So let me initiate this variable, initialize this variable equals to 0, and then try to execute it. So that is giving me the sum of these variables. So what exactly we are doing here is it's like a multiple variables or multiple arguments we are taking with this. So it is a dynamic thing. Like if you can pass any number of arguments. So this is actually, if you observe, it is very dynamic way of doing addition, right? So you're not specifying anything. You're not specifying the number of arguments. We are not restricting the number of arguments here. So in many of the cases, we might come across such use cases where we do not to define a number of number of parameters or the arguments for the functions, but take them as a dynamic. I mean, it is in the runtime. So this is very convenient option that works in Python. So you just need to specify star and then the argument name, and then you exactly use it. So if you can see here, it is basically adding all these values and giving us the result. So hope you are understanding the power of Python language. Maybe you are using anything for that matter. Maybe you use a function. Maybe you are using a lists. Maybe you are using a dictionary. So or a for loop for that matter. So the Python makes a programmer's life very convenient and very easy. Like as you saw, like multiple options in functions. Hope it was useful. Thanks for watching.